So this isn't the video that I thought I was gonna be making today. If you've been following along, you know that we've been prepping this car for the Circuit Drag and Drive, which is supposed to be starting tomorrow. Well, news broke this morning that they are postponing the event due to forecasted extreme weather in the southern Missouri and Oklahoma area. So extreme weather, I'm talking like hail, tornadoes, stuff like that. Stuff you do not want to be in, especially when you're driving around in something like this. So I thought that by now I'd be like halfway to Tulsa already. That was the plan. I was gonna be packing up this car and getting it ready to go. I had some plans for some stuff I was gonna do. I got some fresh oil over there. I was gonna do a quick oil change and then also drain all the antifreeze out of the cooling system and replace it with just straight water. You don't want antifreeze in your car when you're going down the track, because if you have an issue like this,
Ethan was in the mid sevens. I got a
it's a lot harder to clean up glycol antifreeze than it is to clean up just straight water. So that was my plan for today, was to do an oil change, drain the antifreeze, and then start packing up this car with all my tools and parts and stuff like that. Clothes, optional, I think. Toothbrush, optional too. You know, that kind of stuff. But now, I'm just staying home. So, you know, kind of been thinking about like, well, what to do. I mean, I already took the time off of work today, tomorrow, Monday, and had scheduling, had planned on setting aside all that time to be cruising through Missouri and Oklahoma and stuff like that and racing. So what do you do when that kind of stuff gets canceled? Well, the first thing I did was call all the hotels that I had booked. I had booked hotels Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and called all those hotels, and basically all of them told me that because of how I booked the rooms and because I picked the cheapest rate on every room, that I was not getting a refund on any of them. Even though, like, my hotel for Saturday, it's Thursday right now, and 3 days out, they told me I couldn't get a refund because I was past the refund window, and I had booked the cheapest rate. So basically, I'm just out $500 right off the bat, losing those hotels. And the event's not canceled, it's postponed. So I'm not getting a refund on my entry fee, I don't expect, because they're still having the race, just not sure when yet. So that means whenever they do eventually have the race, I gotta buy hotels again. And I guess, lesson learned there is make sure you book hotels with a good cancellation policy. So, guess that's my fault for being cheap and buying the cheapest room without checking the cancellation policies before I bought. But, you live and you learn. I'm not a world traveler type guy, I don't travel a lot for work or anything like that. And so I've never, this is the first time I've ever had to call and cancel a hotel. So the things you learn. So, that just kind of brings up like, well, what do you do? First off, let's talk about what have we done to get to this point. Like, how were we prepping this car for the drag and drive? So some of the updates that we've made recently, I'll have videos coming out about all this stuff. I recorded it all. I just haven't had time to go through and edit it and turn it into videos. But you can see this rear end is up in the air. I've had a persistent rear end leak in this car for a long time, and I think I finally solved the problem. I had some RTV on some seals, which is why this side is off the ground, because there's still oil in the rear end, and I just wanted to push all the oil to the other side while that RTV dried. It should be dry now. I should be able to set this back down and not have a puddle of gear oil under there. That's the hope, at least. So what we did is we fixed the rear end leak. I think new wheels and tires, front and back. Pretty excited about this. If you followed along in my 6th summer video, you'll have noticed that we hit some bumps in the road and scraped the oil pan.
getting dust in my hair.
And lost all the oil out of the engine on the drive on day 2, and had to plug up some holes in the oil pan, refill it with oil, and make the rest of the week. It was low on oil pressure. After I came back, I tore the engine down and found all the bearings and rings were pretty much trashed from driving it with no oil in it. Who saw that coming? But new wheels and tires. These tires are about 3 inches taller than the old ones. That gives me a little bit more ground clearance. I also have changed the motor mounts since then. You can't see them, but they're right down in there. And these motor mounts that are on here now are about 1 inch taller than the old one too. So I should have about an extra 4 inches of oil pan clearance, which I guess if the tire was 3 inches taller, it's only actually 1.5 inches extra ground clearance because, you know, diameter, radius, all that stuff, math, whatever. But yeah, a little bit extra there should help. New shocks in the front should also help with it not wanting to bottom out when you hit big bumps and stuff like that. We did larger tires on the rear too, larger in width and height. Larger width mainly because, well, A, it's what was available, and B, because more contact patch means more smoke for doing burnouts. Taller tire because it's kind of going to act like the car has a taller gear ratio if you put a taller tire on it. So this thing's got 373 gears in it, which, you know, are pretty good for racing, especially with the 26-inch tall slick that I've got on it. Or not slick, but drag radial. But, you know, it doesn't really go down the highway real good with a 373 in it and no overdrive. So, you know, 80 miles an hour, this thing is cruising like 3,800 RPM. And it will do that. It's just, you know, I don't like doing that to it. So a little bit taller tire will act like it has a little bit more gear ratio and will help out a little bit on the street. I was going to change the gear ratio. I've got a new set of gears up there on the shelf that are 342s to go in this thing. I wanted to change them before the circuit, but I just kind of ran out of time. Another thing that's nice is with this new wheel and tire combo in the back here, my old wheels were steel rally wheels and they use like an acorn style lug nut. These new wheels have the same style of lug nuts as my race tires, so I don't have to bring 2 full sets of lug nuts with me and have different sockets for each set of lug nuts. So that'll make just, you know, getting all the tools out every day a little bit easier. Also, my old front street wheels were a steel Chevy rally wheel too, and they were kind of heavy and big and everything like that, and I would take them off and put on some real skinny front tires with some aluminum wheels on it. I ended up selling those wheels basically to pay for these new tires, and then I just put these wider aluminum wheels with, you know, real tires on them. These aren't like super skinny tires. These are Hankook Kinergy tires, and it's a 205/70/15. So it's not like a super tiny skinny tire, but it's also not like a huge tire, and these are only a couple pounds more than what the old skinnies were that I had on here. So my plan was to just leave these on the car and not change them to a super skinny lightweight tire and wheel whenever I go to the track. So that was just, again, one less thing that I have to do when I'm prepping every day to get ready to make a run. So what else did we do? If we open up this door here, well, you can't see it because I put the door panel back on, but I did a little bit of trimming on this door to save some weight. These big, long Monte Carlo doors are not light, and they got a little bit more structure in there than they need to, especially once you have a roll cage in your car. So you've already got the protection of the roll cage. You really don't need, you know, the inside of the door skins. But the dash isn't in here. I meant to put the dash back in this morning too. Just, you know, didn't once they postponed the event. But another thing I've done on the interior of this car, we'll go to the other side so you guys can see it. That door closes way easier now that it's 15 pounds lighter. But I put this new tack in. This is a Jegs tack with a shift light. Before, I had a tack that was mounted to the steering column. It was a little bitty dude. It's around here somewhere. I forgot where I put it. But it was mounted down here, it had no shift light, and it was a little tiny guy. And, you know, I shift this thing manually going down the track. It's an automatic transmission, but I still kind of shifted on my own using the column shifter. And it was tough to be, like, watching that little tack down there while I'm driving down and trying to shift. So I got this new Jegs tack that's programmable with a shift light and stuff like that. So hopefully I can just still look forward, not have to be looking at the tack, and then just shift when the light comes on. So we got that done as well. And then we did some other stuff in here. So these videos have already been out. We took some weight out of the front here in this whole area. And then we did some work on the distributor and spark plugs, spark plug wire, stuff like that. We changed the gear in the distributor from a bronze gear to a melanized gear, and did new plugs, wires, stuff like that up here. Oh, we did a forgot, we got one more gauge that we did. I now have a fuel pressure gauge inside the car. So with the new fuel pressure gauge in the car, I'm excited about this one because what I've been doing to tune the car at previous events and races and stuff like that is to use my phone to video my air fuel ratio gauge while I'm going down the track. And usually it's a redneck data logger, you know. But this thing, usually at the top of the track, has been going lean every time, and I don't really know if that's because it's running out of fuel at the top of the track or if it's just a carburetor adjustment type thing. Because I've done a fefew things with the carburetor to try and get rid of that leaning out at the top. I'd really rather it get fatter as we go down the track. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if maybe I just don't have enough fuel pump in the car. So I can, when I'm videoing my air fuel ratio gauge, now I can video that fuel pressure gauge as well. And if the fuel pressure is dropping as we were making the pass, then we'll know, well, it's leaning out because it's just running out of fuel. So that was that. Another thing I did this morning when I was kind of prepping everything was plugging in everything to charge, plugged in my drop light, charging up my cordless tool batteries, charging up GoPros, charging up headlamps. Over here I got more GoPro batteries charging. You don't want to be caught with dead batteries on this stuff. You know, you can have all the tools in the world, but if they're electric and they don't have battery power, then, well, they don't do you a whole lot of good. I had also ordered a fresh pack of zip ties that had showed up last night, so I was pretty, you know, that's pretty much, you got to have that in your drag and drive toolkit, is a fresh, unopened pack of zip ties. So I think that's about it on the changes that we actually got done. There were some other changes I wanted to do that I ran out of time for. So like there's a box under this Camaro here that's got all the parts in it to do a Hydro Boost brake conversion. I was wanting to do a Hydro Boost brake conversion for a couple reasons. One is this engine, big block Chevy with the big, not big, but a solid roller cam. All solid roller cams are kind of big. They don't really make small solid roller cams, but they definitely make ones bigger than this one. But with this engine, solid roller cam, I've got this vacuum power brake booster and master cylinder combo on this guy here, and this is a pretty small booster. This is much smaller than a factory booster because I wanted some extra valve cover clearance. Again, with this thing having a solid roller cam, you got to check lash and stuff like that, and I was having a real hard time with the stock booster getting this valve cover on and off to check lash, so I put in a smaller booster. The problem with the smaller booster is it doesn't make a lot of vacuum, so the smaller booster is real finicky on really high vacuum situations, like when you're coming off the highway on an off-ramp or something like that and you're doing a little bit of engine braking. The brakes want to throw you through the windshield. When you're not in that situation, it almost feels like it has manual brakes. So I thought that a Hydro Boost conversion would be a good upgrade. You can't hardly see it out there, but there, you know, out the window there, my Suburban out there has a factory Hydro Boost system on it, and it works really well. So I'm basically just going to copy that system for this car. I also think that it would help with staging a little bit, just having a little bit more brake pressure all the time when I'm staging. This car just doesn't really like to get up on the converter on the start line. I could probably get better about my staging procedure with, you know, giving a little bit of gas and a little bit of brake, building up some vacuum to kind of hold the brakes better while I'm getting it up to the start line and trying to stall it on the converter. But if I could just get high brake pressure all the time with a new Hydro Boost setup, it's one less thing that I have to think about and worry about screwing up at the start line. The easier I can make it on myself, the better. So yeah, so I wanted to do that change, but just ran out of time. Same with the rear gears. It's gonna be kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see the patch there. So I had a crack in the frame right here, and I welded up the crack and put a new fish plate over it too, to make sure it doesn't crack again. So that was another thing that we wanted to do before the circuit, was get that crack in the frame fixed. I really didn't feel comfortable, you know, going down the racetrack with a crack in the frame. So that pretty much catches you all up to, you know, up to today. And like I said, I'll have some other videos coming out to showcase all of that work that we were doing and stuff, but it was just too much work to do all the work and also, you know, edit the videos and stuff like that. My job has also been very busy lately, and I've been working some extra hours at work lately to try and keep up with deadlines and stuff like that. So between the extra hours at work and then working on this thing till like midnight every day, and then getting a couple hours of sleep, and then going back to work, I just haven't been able to edit the videos. But you know what? Got a couple vacation days now that I was planning on racing. Not racing anymore, so maybe I can get some of those videos out. So, you know, what's next? You know, the circuit's not canceled, it's postponed. So the race is still going to happen. I still want to go compete whenever they come out with a new race. You know, I feel bad for the drag drive repeat guys. You know, Mike and Eric, they were busting butt trying to get that race together and trying to get parties together, and you know, all the pit stops and the events and stuff like that. And they knew that we were facing some inclement weather for the past few days, and they were kind of like, hey man, it's, you know, they're calling for like 20-30% chance of rain. It's Missouri, it's Oklahoma. The weather forecast don't mean nothing out here, guys. In the Midwest, the weather's going to be what it's going to be, and you can't hardly predict it. So they were saying, hey, if it rains, it rains. You know, we'll drive the track out as fast as we can. We'll race. Y'all got street cars. You got windshield wipers. Windshield wipers. You know, you guys shouldn't be scared of a little bit of rain, okay? But when the forecast changed from rain to like, hey, we're talking like hail, tornadoes, stuff like that, tune changed a little bit. You know, the tracks sounded like the tracks weren't comfortable having people race anymore out there with the inclement weather. You know, and that kind of hits close to home because, well, we had a tornado hit close to home right here where I live in Missouri. Like a couple weeks ago, tornado hit like a mile from my house out here and tore up a bunch of houses, a bunch of businesses and stuff like that. You know, I had some trees down. We were without power for a couple days. It wasn't too bad. You know, we were fine. You know, much better off than the people who lost their house or, you know, any of their possessions or anything like that. But yeah, you know, stuff's dangerous. It's very destructive. You really don't want to be at a track, especially for the people who are planning on camping or something like that. You know, if a tornado comes through or any kind of severe weather, hail, stuff like that. Not to mention the damage to the cars. You know, cars can be fixed. You know, you don't want somebody to get hurt. You know, drag racing is kind of a dangerous game anyways, but we all know what we're getting into. You know, nobody straps themselves into one of these cars and thinks that it's not dangerous, you know, and if you do, then you're wrong. But we really don't want to take a chance with the weather. So, tough decision for those guys to make that call to postpone the event. But keyword is postpone. They're postponing the event. It's going to happen. What are we going to do between now and then? Well, I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. So the obvious thing that we probably should do is go ahead with the gear change and go ahead with the Hydro Boost conversion. Since we have planned on doing that before this event anyways and didn't get to it, I don't know that either one of those is going to make the car any faster. But we can continue on with the weight reduction program on the car. So I had some videos a while back about reducing weight on the car where I was, you know, cutting, drilling, unbolting stuff off the car and putting everything in this bucket and weighing the bucket to see how much weight I lost. Well, if you go back and watch that video, this bucket was not nearly that full. When I've had, you know, free time, I've still been going through and reducing more weight on the car. I haven't taken a full weight in a while, but I think I'm close to 50 pounds of weight I've taken out of it now. So we can just keep going with that, keep taking more weight off. So that would help the car out in a lot of ways. Most importantly, gas mileage and saving the environment, have less extreme weather, you know. Maybe I'll get a haircut between now and when they actually have the circuit. We'll see. I don't know. But, yeah. We're going to keep going. I'll keep making videos. They're going to be a little bit less urgent now that, you know, we've got more time. So now I can put off doing a lot of these repairs and upgrades and stuff like that until it's 2 weeks out from the new circuit. And then I can just not sleep for 2 weeks again. I did also... I was wanting to make a video about this, but yeah, I just haven't yet. But I got a new TIG welder a couple weeks ago. I guess about a month ago now. And the only thing I've really done with it so far is do this frame repair. But with this new welder, I can do a lot of fabrication and stuff like that, and other things to lighten up this car a little bit. Like, I kind of was thinking about this transmission cross member under here the other day. It's kind of a modified factory transmission cross member, but it is really big and beefy and heavy, way more than it needs to. I could probably build one that's less weight than that one. Also, this TIG welder, it's got a button here for AC or DC. So with an AC TIG welder, you can weld aluminum. So I've pretty much been limited to steel fabrication on this car the whole time I've owned it. With the AC TIG welder, now I can do some aluminum. So stuff like, I've never liked how I've got this radiator mounted in here. This is a circle track style radiator. It didn't come with any mounts or anything like that. I just kind of made this stuff to clamp it in here. I really would have preferred to weld on some plates on the side so I could bolt it in. So maybe now I can do some stuff like that. Maybe do a better fan shroud or something too, or just taking, I was looking at this alternator bracket the other day, and this thing's pretty beefy. I could maybe make something new out of aluminum that's a little bit lighter. I really don't like this, radiator hose situation I got going on where it goes zzz, and you saw earlier in the video, another reason why I don't really like this radiator hose. But I could make like a custom hose out of aluminum or something like that, and then just have like some silicone couplers on either end, so that I don't have this, two hose steel roll cage piece in the middle to connect them. So maybe I'll work on something like that. I don't really know. The possibilities are endless for the stuff that we could work on. But I think for this weekend, what I'm gonna do is probably just spend some time with my family. Since I've been working so much lately, I've been missing out on time with my family to get the car ready and to just, do my job to pay for all this stuff. But yeah, so probably spend some time with my family, maybe work on some of those house projects that I've been putting off for, months, telling my wife I don't have time to do them because I'm too busy prepping for the circuit. Maybe I'll get some of those done. Maybe I'll clean up some of the storm damage that was still here from that tornado. I've still got, most of a tree in the yard that needs to be chopped up and turned into firewood and stuff like that. So maybe I'll clean this garage. I don't know if you can see this. It is a damn mess out here. Kind of just when I'm doing these big projects and prepping for stuff, it kind of just turns into chaos out here. And then I'll wait till I get back, and then before I put the car back in the garage, I'll go through and do a big cleanup of everything and reorg to get it back in order. But that's about it, guys. So really, just kind of, bummed about the circuit not being. Oh, another thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna keep driving the car. Get some miles on this thing. I haven't driven it more than like 35 miles at a time since 666, and I've been having miscellaneous issues here and there with the car. So maybe I'll figure out how to use a selfie stick. But miscellaneous issues with the car, so we'll get some miles on the car, keep driving it, and hopefully get some of these bugs worked out. And the racetracks around here in Missouri are starting to open up. I see that my local track, which is Worldwide Technology Raceway over in Madison, Illinois. Everybody calls it St. Louis, but it's actually in Illinois. It's just nobody wants to admit that they're in Illinois. I don't know. Don't blame them. But yeah, so they've got an open test and tune next Friday, and then the Friday after that, they've got another just kind of like open streetcar fun race kind of thing. We may hit one or both of those and get some test passes under this car. I've pretty much never gone to a drag and drive with a car that's got like a tested dialed in tune up for the track. I've gone into a drag and drive with a car that's had a lot of street miles on it and stuff like that, but never gone into one where I've got like a tune up that I feel like was good. So maybe we can go to the track and work on the tune up and stuff like that while we're off too, and maybe we'll find some other races at the track too, and do some heads up racing. I've only ever competed with this car in drag and drive stuff. I've never done any kind of heads up or bracket racing or anything like that. So maybe we'll try some of that out. But mainly, we're back to business as usual here, getting some work done. More shop. I was excited to get some racing videos. Since I started this YouTube thing, it's been mostly shop videos. I was excited to get some more racing footage and stuff like that, especially with my new camera setups and everything like that I've been working on. So, bummer to not get that, but we'll just have to get that at the local track then. And yeah, not at the circuit. So, yep. All I got to say, I guess, is stay tuned. If there's one of these projects I talked about that you thought was interesting, let me know in the comments or something like that, what you want to see. Maybe that'll help me figure out which way to go with this thing, what I want to work on next. I'll get those other videos out for the work that we've already done. And, yeah, bummed about the circuit. But, there's always a silver lining, and now I just get more time to prep. So, getting ready to take home that big block in a trophy. So that's it, guys. Thanks for listening to me ramble here.